Welcome to Stage 1 of the Benelux Tour, a very unique stage race because it has 0 mountains and a couple of cobbled stages. So a very different type of stage race, and a lot of different riders besides the ones we're accustomed to seeing in the stage races will think they have a chance of winning it, including some of the sprinters. But the big favorites going into this race are the Kyoto team. There is a time trial, so of course Kyoto ought to dominate in that event. They have a number of all-rounders who are quite strong in the cobbles. So I think the teams will be trying to limit the damage to Kyoto, or even spring a surprise to pull off the upset. In the meantime, on stage 1, it's a flat stage, and we're coming up to a very strange intermediate sprint here, because it's actually 3 sprints in one, all back to back to back, and all 3 of them have time bonuses. In fact, every sprint in the Benelux Tour has time bonuses, so these sprints will go a long way to determining the early race leader, and they could make a big impact in the final general classification as well. So a lot at stake in these early intermediate sprints. We're coming up to the first one now. Well, technically the second, there was one already, but here we go. Turn right, and then the golden kilometer sprints will start. Here comes Super Chalk Charathivat, he will take the first one. The next one is straight ahead, so they'll have to sprint for that once again. And Charathivat gets the second, but what about the third? See, the sprinters have broken away from the pack, they're desperate for these points and time bonuses. And I think Davide Lagana got to that third one. Here's the peloton, not interested in dealing with the sprinters who have jumped clear. And these sprinters not working at all together. No interest in trying to break away from the field. And I think they would have a chance of stealing a lot of time away if they did. But I guess it's not in the team plans. Or maybe these sprinters believe that they have the superior lead-out train, so they don't want to coin flip the sprint against 8 other riders. Strange how the tactics can work sometimes, but the peloton are still 2 minutes back, so a very unusual race situation on stage 1 here. And another intermediate sprint is coming up soon in 2 kilometers time. You'd have to think that if this peloton starts trying at all to chase down the sprinters, it won't take them very long at all to do so. But so far, none of the teams have taken the initiative. And that includes Kyoto. You could see the race slip away if they don't do something about it now, but the next intermediate sprint, I think that was Heinrich Kromer who got to that one first. And you see them sat up once again. I'm a little bit lost for words at this situation, but here comes the peloton. And you see the team of observers in the yellow jerseys there. That's the Pirelli team. They're not here to race, they're here to just spectate in the peloton. And when they're at the front of the race, that's a bit of a sign that things are going slow. And here comes Enrico Zorcone of Hackett, who has not scored any points at all this season. I think he's the only rider remaining that has failed to score. But he's finally made an appearance and chased down the breakaway of sprinters. So again, I'm a bit lost for words at what's happened the last 15 kilometers. The race back in one bunch, and just a few kilometers to go until the final sprint into the finish line. And a big stage one is up for grabs here. Of course, those time bonuses from before are actually more decisive for determining the race leader, so entirely possible the winner of this stage will not take the race lead. AlphaTauri want to win this stage anyway, because here's Adrian Bernard to set up the lead out for Heinrich Kromer. 3Ks to go now. The Castelli train has launched. That's Jens de Klerk, Elijah Johnson, and Davide Lagana. Super Chalk Charathivat is there, so is Miroslav Kostra. Flamme Rouge is on the horizon now. Lagana has gone, and he's gone very, very early. A lot of sprinters are catching up. Here's Robel Nagase through the center, Johnny Valters, and Ishikawa Kitetsu, who gets them all on the line and wins the stage. Well, she just flew out of nowhere and ended up taking the win at the very end of it all. A spectacular sprint by Kitetsu. I thought she had no chance at all. I did not even see her jersey in that front group of riders. She shot up like a cannon out of nowhere. And I'm sure Robel Nagase thought he had that win in the bag. In the end, Kitetsu just stole it away at the finish. So that's her second win of the season, and equally as fantastic as her first. both times surprising all the big sprinters with a late charge. So at the end of the first stage, Ishikawa Kitetsu of Fujura 4 stall is the winner. We'll see how the time shakes out with the time bonuses, but I did not see her up there in the intermediate sprint, so I do not think she'll be the race leader. Rebel Nagase of Doima was second place, Johnny Wouters third, Kazi Banabi, and Blaise Robillard. The first leader of the general classification is Johnny Wouters of Euskaltel Euskadi by 6 seconds ahead of Heinrich Kromer. Ishikawa Kitetsu is third place at 8 seconds, followed by Davide Lagana, and Superchak Sharatibat is in 5th place, also 8 seconds down. Most of the main field 20 seconds behind when you account for all the time bonuses, starting with Kazim Banabi. I think most of the pack will be at that time deficit. The first leader in the points classification is Johnny Wouters of Euskaltel Euskadi, and Kromer, Kitetsu, Nagase, and Lagana also scoring some points on the course. No points for the mountains classification today. In fact, not a single point on offer in that competition until the 6th stage. So it'll be a bit strange not seeing that jersey in the peloton, and it'll all come down to 2 stages at the end of the race. Valnor are the leaders of the team classification after stage 1, based on the placings, but that should change very shortly because a short individual time trial follows on stage 2. So a very strange stage 1 has resulted in a victory for Ishikawa Kitetsu, but she's not the race leader. That has gone to Johnny Wouters. So Wouters will have to defend his lead in the short time trial on stage 2, and that stage 2, very important for deciding the destiny of the leader's jersey. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for stage 2. Welcome to stage 2 of the Benelux tour. We are here for the individual time trial on a pretty short course here, and it's totally flat. So we'll see if the pure specialist of the time trials can put in a great performance. And one of those great time trialists is this rider, Hippolyte Toutain. He was 3rd place at the first time check, around 5 seconds behind the time of Emil Meyer. And Meyer has the fastest time at the finish line, and Toutain is 9 seconds slower than that. So Meyer's mark of 11 minutes 17 seconds is still the time to beat. Now there was a group of riders split off in stage 1 and actually lost some time, and one of those riders was Emil Meyer, so he's not going to take the race lead in this time trial because he's actually lost too much time. But Otis Grimsby was in that front group on stage 1, so the way things stand, Grimsby would become the new race leader. We take off on the start ramp with Ugo Zorzi, who's a very poor time trialist. I expect very little from the Italian rider today. But what about Egan Kalas? He's a big favorite to win this race overall, along with Yannick Verhoeven, and possibly Toutain as well. So a 3-headed attack by Kyoto, and Kalas probably the team leader amongst the 3 of them, because he's such a great all-rounder and he's very strong on the cobblestones. 7th place at the first time check for Egan Kalas, 11 seconds behind Meyer. Still some time between here and the finish. The Euskaltel duo of Rudiger and Caillou have put in good times, however I don't expect them to be long-term contenders to win the race because those cobbled stages ought to trip up those 2 climbers. Here comes Kalas to the finish line, 7th place at the finish, 20 seconds behind Emil Meyer. So we'll try and keep track of some of the riders we think could win the race overall or finish up there in the top 5. Possibly Tony Giorgio, very strong in these northern type of races with some hills and some cobbles here and there. And he's got a great time at the first time check. 4th place, just 7 seconds behind. So we'll see what Giorgio has in store for the finish here. Into the finishing straight in Vlissingen. At 4th place at the finish, only 12 seconds behind Emil Meyer. Caught a glimpse of Matsuoda there. He was not very quick at the first time check. So I think Matsuoda will lose some time at the finish. Here comes Adrian Bernard. Bit of an outside contender for this race. A fair ways down at the first time check. Here comes Canale. Very good time trialist, very weak on the cobbles. But he's got a great time here so far. 6th place at the first time check. Interested what Luigi Belli can do on stages 5 and 7 of this race. So he should be very good on the cobblestones, but he was a bit disappointing in the Tour of Flanders. Not up there in that front group, and that was a big disappointment for AlphaTauri. They really lost out to Kyoto, and now that team playing catch-up in the Benelux Tour in a race that really suits Kyoto. See if Yevgeny Balashkov can pull a surprise though. He's got a decent time at the first time check, in 8th place. Not sure about his long-term chances in this race, but he's a very combative rider. Except in the Dauphiné, we'll ignore that race for Yevgeny Balashkov, but he's 8th place at the finish. But here comes Yannick Verhoeven of Kyoto, 3rd place at the first check, and 3rd at the finish. 3 seconds behind Meyer, but he's slower than Grimsby, so the way things stand, Grimsby would still be the next race leader. And another rider doing very well on the course is Lucas Venninger, rider of the Doimo team who's done very little this season. He has scored points, incredibly, I forgot what race it was, and he might do so again here. 5th at the finish. Strong performance by Venninger. Here's Uday Baya, who's also put in a great time. Inside the top 10 for now at 16 seconds. The sprinter Miroslav Kostra with a similar time in 13th, 18 seconds. And with the time bonuses still available on the course, Kostra could stay close enough to the race lead to take that jersey another time. But so many sprinters want those points for the points jersey as well as the time bonuses. It's going to be hard for Kostra to get a lot of those, but we'll see what he can do later in the race. The riders on the course now are inside the top 10 of the GC, those that were up there at the end of stage 1, and those that also scored the time bonuses. So here comes Blaise Robillard, stage winner of the Giro d'Italia. A bit slow early on in this course though. Banabi not slow at all, 6th place at the first time check, setting a very fast time toward the finish. And he's another rider that could be up there for Kyoto when it's all said and done. And the other sprinters who are not very good in the time trials, just trying to get around the course. I think they'll lose quite a bit of time. Now Kitetsu is better against the clock than some of the other sprinters, so I'm curious what she can do at the first time check here. 26 seconds down, that is a bit disappointing by Kitetsu. Thought she'd go a bit faster than that and have a chance to take the race lead on a different stage, but it seems that's not going to happen. There's Heinrich Kromer in 2nd place overall, also a long way down at the time check. Johnny Voucher's a bit better, 30th place so far, and will stay with the yellow jersey all the way to the finish. Johnny Valters led the Giro d'Italia for several stages, won the points jersey, and we'll see if he can do a repeat performance here in the Benelux Tour. He's in yellow once again. Inside the final kilometer, he should lose his race lead, but by how much? 36th at the finish. Not too bad by Valters, but Meyer will win the stage, and we will have a new race leader. So the stage results for stage 2. It starts with ML Meyer, the great time trial specialist of Natalia. I believe that's his 3rd time trial win of this season, so continuing to perform in that discipline. Otis Grimsby of Hackett is in 2nd place at 2 seconds. Yannick Verhoeven of Kyoto is 3rd at 3 seconds. Tuta 4th at 9 seconds, then Lucas Venninger of Doimo 5th in the same time. Benabi, Kiergo, Canale, Nigel Morrow, and Rico Rudiger finishing out your top 10. The general classification has been altered because of that time trial, and the new leader is Otis Grimsby of Hackett by a single second over Yannick Verhoeven. Lucas Venninger comes up to 3rd place. Johnny Voucher's in 4th, just 7 seconds back, so he could reclaim the lead if he gets some time bonuses in the sprints. Tuta is now 5th, then Benabi, Kiergo, Morrow, Nagasi, another sprinter, and Canale in the top 10. But the time gaps are very low, so still a lot to be decided here in the Benelux Tour. Plenty of bonuses in the sprints, as well as those cobbled stages. In the points classification, no change despite the win by ML Meyer in the time trial, so Valters is still the leader. And to the surprise of nobody, Kyoto have taken the lead in the team classification after a time trial. Doimo up to 2nd place. At this point, that looks like Kyoto's competition to lose. We're back on the flat roads for stage 3 for another sprint stage, and should see some more action for those sprints for the time bonuses, and of course the stage victory. So as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for stage 3.